Hi, welcome to the Sweet Slumber Podcast, the good, the bad, and the sleep deprived. I am your host, Meredith Bruff. I'm a wife, a mother of 5, a childcare expert, and a sleep coach. I'm here to teach you the most effective sleep advice for infants and young children. With my guidance, sleep will become something that you look forward to again, and you will feel rested. I believe that motherhood is the most important and demanding role that we have, but the challenges and accomplishments that go along with it go unnoticed frequently. We are going to talk openly about these things so that we can draw strength and compassion from each other. I will share my perspective as a seasoned mother and help you experience more fulfillment. Welcome to the Sweet Slumber Podcast, the good, the bad, and the sleep deprived. I'm here with my friend Jenny, and I am so excited to talk to her. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me, Meredith. I'm really excited to be here.
Thank you. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself before we talk about why you're here?
Sure. So I'm a first-time mom. My daughter is now 20, almost 21 months old. I live in Colorado, and I am working as a physical therapist in various settings as kind of some part-time work in 3 different hospitals. So very busy, but managing it all somehow, especially being 2020.
Yeah, this year, huh? Well, thank you. So Jenny's here to tell us her story about becoming a mom, and looking forward to hearing it, and really grateful that you're willing to talk to us. So thank you again. So when you were pregnant, can you tell us what you were looking forward to about becoming a mom?
Yes. So many things. I mean, it's hard to even fathom back then, considering you have really no idea of what that's all going to look like. I was looking forward to starting a family with my husband. Looking forward to all of the life stages that we would have with our daughter, watching her grow up, and just kind of getting to experience the steps or the things that our parents experienced with us, and just really watching a human grow into becoming an adult and their own person. It was just kind of the whole miracle of life was really exciting for us.
That's wonderful. Thank you. I like that because we all look forward to different things. So hearing what you were excited about, I think for me, it was like I was just playing house. I just couldn't wait to be a mom. And I love how you pointed out that you just wanted to watch her develop and grow, and that was just so thrilling to you. So thank you.
That's my physical therapist brain.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm thinking, a little different. So what was life like when you brought your little one home?
Chaos. I think lots of moms, even me saying like, gosh, it's so hard to remember back then. I think you get a lot of advice from moms. And in the beginning, I think it is such a whirlwind because it's such a huge transition in your life. You think you know what to expect. And for me, I had no idea. My mom told me things would be a certain way. They weren't at all like that.
Oh, no.
I mean, it was still exciting. It was just this miracle of life that we're bringing home, but the transition was overwhelming, definitely at times. And the fear, that fear of being a perfect mom definitely played into it. So yeah, but it had its ups and its downs for sure.
Yeah. Well, we put way too much pressure on ourselves, expecting that we're going to know what it's going to be like. That's craziness. And then expecting we're going to handle it so well. And then when we don't, we're so hard on ourselves. It's very common for all women to be like that. So how are you feeling about being a mom in the early weeks?
Again, I mean, it was challenging, not sleeping, having your body recover from such a huge transition in itself, the hormones, my husband and I navigating different roles and new things in life. But it was one day at a time. We were fortunate to have some support from our family, but again, not giving myself enough grace in the beginning was probably my shortfall. So
what parts of motherhood looked different than you wanted? You know what I mean?
Well, my mom told me that my baby would sleep all the time. And I would be able to have downtime, that they would sleep in the swing or wherever it might be. That was not the case for my daughter. We had a lot of cuddle time, which was wonderful in the beginning, but it got hard for me to physically heal as well, sitting all the time.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of cuddles, which I think looking back, I would have appreciated more if I had known what a
To
not
expect that.
on those.
Yeah, like everything. I know. I understand that. So, what were some of the feelings, like the roller coaster of emotions that you went through that first month?
Just looking at this human being and thinking, oh my gosh, I just can't imagine loving something more than I love this baby. Whereas at the same time, wanting my old life back. Just that roller coaster of ups and downs, being so happy and feeling so blessed to have this child, but then yearning for some of the freedoms that not having a baby provides you. And then also at times feeling guilty because I wasn't fully engrossed in this whole new mom experience. Not envisioning myself as having that new mom glow, feeling that I was doing something wrong because I just wasn't in love 100% of the time.
Yeah. I think that's probably the most surprising feeling that you can have, right? And then that brings guilt.
Yeah,
You agree?
absolutely.
Did you feel really isolated in all of that? Like, did you feel like there was people you could talk to that understood?
No, not really. I had one friend that we would occasionally speak about it, but she was on her fourth child when I was on my first.
Yeah.
She had reached out and gotten help, but her hands were full too, so we didn't get a chance to really dive into what I was experiencing. Um, and also the shame of feeling like I couldn't handle this, that I wasn't able to cope with all of the things that so many other women had gone through and done so fine, or even succeed or excelled in being a new mom. Just feeling very isolated in that realm, or embarrassed.
Yeah.
Definitely not wanting to expose myself to my mother-in-law or my sister-in-law or people at work, or even close friends. It was challenging. And then having friends that didn't have babies, I never really thought that they could understand.
Yeah.
So
Well, and I was thinking about your mom. Were you able to talk to her much? Because what she explained was so different. Would she have understood you? Did you
uh,
have her there?
I'm not sure. My mom had never described having postpartum depression herself. So it wasn't something that I felt like she would understand either.
Yeah. Were you able to kind of start to see that in yourself early? When did
Not
you start to see the postpartum?
not early on. It was later when um, we were probably 8 weeks in.
So this is like, we need to look at the second month, third month, right?
Yeah,
So what happened? What changed for you, or you want to tell us about that experience?
it just got harder and harder. I would remember trying to get my daughter to sleep in other areas of the house rather than my arms. And I would walk into a dark room or into her nursery, and I would immediately start to feel anxiety, or even resentment towards my daughter. Um, and then guilt would follow, obviously. And that just kept getting worse. And I started finding myself trying to get moments away, um, trying to ask for help without directly asking for help. And it got to a point where I found myself locking myself in our laundry room, shutting the door to my bedroom, which is where Hadley was, shutting the door to the laundry room and turning on the dryer so I couldn't hear her cry. and
Mm.
so that I could cry on the floor as well. Um, I knew then that there was something going on, but at the same aspect, I kept saying, I need sleep. I need sleep.
Yeah.
Um, and again, the embarrassment and the shame that came with the fact that I wasn't excelling at this mom thing,
Yeah.
which should be such a natural thing to be able to do, was holding me back of looking for help or asking for help. I also resented my husband because my daughter wouldn't let my husband hold her,
Hmm.
um, and she wouldn't sleep in his arms. So I kept thinking there's something he's doing wrong, or when in fact he was just as scared as I was. He's still a new parent as well.
Yeah. Well, how was that? Were you able to express any of those feelings to him?
Not
Or
in a
like
healthy,
any?
not in a healthy way.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
Arguments or snapping at each other. Um, I would give him moments to try to hold her, and then she would cry, and I would go in to rescue them both, and
Yeah.
then find resentment at both of them. Um, yeah, it was tough. It was a very challenging part in the beginning of our relationship. There was a part where I broke and he took over. He was able to take over, and I was just at a point where I couldn't do it 95% of the time anymore.
Yeah.
And they ended up figuring it out together.
Yay. And was that around the time you felt like you needed to ask for help, talk to your doctor, you're starting to see what was going on more clearly?
I was fortunate that my husband was the one that recognized that. I don't know if I was in the right mindset to be able to recognize that as much as I should have.
Hey, I think that's
But
great that
sorry, what was that?
oh, I said I think it's great that you had that he was able to help you, because that's something that I do in my work a lot is help moms see it. So to have one person, and I don't think most women are strong enough to ask for help on their own.
Yeah, it is hard. There was a point where I told him I wanted a divorce, and I told him he could have our daughter, and that this isn't what I wanted. And that's when he told me we were going to go to the doctor. So um, I was fortunate to also be helpful in that realm for my sister-in-law 5 months later when she went through it.
Wow.
I do think it's important that we are talking about what postpartum depression looks like
Yeah.
and the different symptoms, because everyone goes through it differently, and that we are able to recognize it in those that we love,
Yeah.
because we don't always recognize it in ourselves.
Yeah, that's really great. Well, tell me more about that experience with your husband, if you don't mind. The process that you went through. So it was pretty rock bottom, and I think that that says a lot if that's how you felt, because you love your husband. You
Yep.
wanna be married, and you couldn't wait to be a mom, right?
Right.
So tell us what happened in that, time frame.
So I told him that I was leaving, and he said, "Okay, let's call your doctor and let's see if we can get you some help." So he had called my mom. My mom came up to help support us too with Hadley. And then Jeff took over. Like, he was trying to get Hadley to sleep. He was holding her more often. He was getting up with her more in the night. And I was letting him. I think that's a big thing for me
Yeah,
to also say, is that it wasn't that he didn't try before. He
yeah,
was trying, I wasn't letting.
yeah.
We made an appointment with the doctor. I went and got some medication, and had some resources given to me by my doctor. And within about 2 weeks, I felt like a new person.
Wow, that fast?
It was quick. I think it was just that I needed something, and I knew how badly I felt. So I was really aware of how much better I began to feel, and it gave me some hope.
Wow. Well, tell us, so you felt like a new person. Did you feel more like yourself again?
I started to. I mean, I don't want to say that within 2 weeks I felt like I was well or completely better,
Right.
But yes, I started to feel more like myself. I started to feel less anxious when I would walk into Hadley's room. I would feel more grateful for the times that I got to hold her. I would feel more capable of getting out into the sunshine and not worrying if she cried, feeling more capable of responding to my daughter's needs without immediately jumping into this anxiety filled panic in order to try to fix her or save her or be a good mom.
Wow, that is amazing. Like, just it sounds like motherhood changed quite a bit, even quickly. I mean, even in that short time.
It did.
Um, he was helping you. So was you said your mom?
Mhm. And my mother-in-law.
Oh, wow, that's an amazing team.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking you must have been getting more sleep at that point. Do you feel like that was helping too? Or were you still not sleeping as much?
Hadley wasn't sleeping through the night by all means, but
No.
she did start to sleep out of my arms for periods of time at night and for short naps. Also giving myself grace that naps didn't have to be solely in the crib, or they could also happen with her in a sling outside for my own mental health as well.
Right.
Kind of her balancing her needs and my own, and not just putting the baby as the 100% forefront. Recognizing that I needed to also take care of myself in order to take care of her. So yes, sleep was better, but I also was able to give myself more grace for my imperfections as a mom.
I
And being
love
able to see that was huge.
I love that. That's awesome. We are way too good at completely forgetting ourselves to a fault, right? Isn't it crazy? Like, men don't have that problem, as far as I've noticed. It just feels like we lose ourselves and we feel like we're supposed to. And so then we forget about ourselves and our needs, and we forget, you know, obviously we have to take care of ourselves to be able to give, right?
Right.
It's cool that you were able to start to see that. So I guess what I was wondering about was, if everyone was kind of stepping in a little bit at night and helping you, um, and if that was making a difference. And you still needed help with sleep. So do you want to kind of explain where I came into the picture?
Yeah. So I wouldn't say that there was more help at night because I was breastfeeding. So I was still responsible for feeding Hadley. But yes, during the day, having more support so that I could take a nap I just want to clarify on that. But yes, then there came a time where we did need assistance and we did need some guidance and hand holding through the baby sleep process. I had read books and things like that on my own, and it just wasn't enough information or individualized enough for me and my family to really succeed at promoting or supporting good sleep habits for Hadley and for myself. So we had looked into some different sleep training options, and we came across Meredith. And having been through so much anxiety with Hadley, anytime she cried, whether that was in dad's arms or after a bath, I mean, I would have this natural like anxiety that would happen when she would cry. It was really important for me to have a method that would not support as much crying for her. And Meredith's program was really good for us in that. The thing that I also really appreciated about Meredith is that it was really individualized, and she was really present in our program to help us troubleshoot some of the things that weren't working for us.
Right. So now a lot of my clients are doing an online program and they're not getting all the hand holding. But yes, there's that option of getting coaching. And I think that when you're in a situation where you've been struggling with postpartum depression or anxiety, more hand holding is ideal. So yeah, I think that was a big deal for you when it came to our working relationship, was like having someone to talk to and open up about these things, what you're going through, and just feel more supported, you think?
Yeah. Working with Meredith and also getting help for my own postpartum I do want to say that I also noticed a change in my daughter. I think my daughter was feeling my anxiety and my frustration with being a new mom, and it was affecting her. And so having the resources and the support through postpartum, I did see a change in her. She was more relaxed. She was easier to, like, she fell asleep easier. She felt more, um, can't think of the word.
Well, she was calmer, and I think before you were telling me that she was high needs, so she had all these challenging traits, and I'm used to that. That's who I work with, and so I assumed it was true too. But I remember that when she was rested, you saw a really big difference in her as well, didn't you?
I did. She was definitely a more typical baby when she was getting more sleep and also having a calmer mom
Yeah.
was a huge influence for her as well.
So maybe the word you're looking for a minute ago was, did she seem a little bit more at peace?
Yeah.
Yeah, like an
Yeah.
inner peace.
Yeah.
That's so beautiful. And you
Mhm.
were feeling that too, more and more as time went on, right?
I really started to enjoy being a mom again, or I guess not again, for the first time.
Right. Again, because when you were pregnant and about to have a baby, you felt great, right? Yeah. So, do you want to talk any more about those feelings that changed in you? How you were feeling when things were getting better and better and you were both sleeping more, that sort of thing?
We just started to click. I mean, they say a mother has an intuition, and I think I felt like a failure in those early postpartum days because I didn't feel like my intuition was working.
Mm.
Her and I didn't seem to be communicating in whatever way that mom and babies communicate. But once I got my postpartum under control, we started getting better sleep habits. We did start to click, and we were in tune with each other, and that intuition that you hear so much about really did become apparent. And I could tell different cries in my daughter. I could tell when she was hungry. I could tell when she was sleepy. I could tell if it was a dirty diaper. That intuition really did kick in.
Well,
Um,
I think that that has a lot to do with your wellness, because when you don't have all of those things to worry about and all of those triggers and emotions, I feel like you're clearing things away. And so maybe that helps you tune in and the peace that you feel inside and starting to trust yourself and have things go well. All of that helps, don't you think?
I do. And being able to understand that there's no one way to be a perfect mom, but there's lots of ways to be a good one.
Yeah, I love that. That's perfect. Thank you. So, what was it like to have your husband get involved and help? Like, how did that help your relationship?
It was wonderful. I mean, that resentment that I felt towards him in the beginning um, went away, but also watching his confidence in becoming a dad was really, really wonderful to see. And for us to start to enter this part of our relationship together rather than me feeling like I was doing it alone was hugely beneficial for our marriage as well as our family. To be able to see him have his own relationship with our daughter and him to see me have a good, healthy relationship with our daughter, I think was life changing.
That's so wonderful. Yay. So many good things came together and worked out for you. It wasn't one thing. It wasn't, I don't know. I'm sure it was a process.
It was.
Yeah.
It started by getting help.
Yeah. Well, on that note, do you ever regret reaching out to your doctor?
No,
I know
not.
there's shame involved, so that's why it's really good to think about that, right?
Yes, and I think it's important for us as women who have experienced postpartum is to discuss it with women that are going to be new moms as well as women that are already moms but maybe expecting another child, because it is something that so many women, I believe, do go through. It's just not talked about because for whatever reason, we're all ashamed to admit that this is something we experience.
Yeah. And that's so sad that we feel or that you feel that way and that others feel that way because it makes sense. Like you have all of these risk factors. So having a baby that's really challenging or really demanding, like you having to hold her so much, that alone. But then you mix in the hormones and the sleep deprivation. And I mean, it makes so much sense that we would kind of spiral out of control. And it's absolutely related to the hormones and everything in our bodies that changing a lot. Breastfeeding does actually contribute to it, which is sad and hard because we want to breastfeed. You hate to think that, doing that is going to put you at risk. But, for some women, if they're not able to improve and things aren't changing with all the things that they're trying to feel better, that is something to look at, because it would be better if you weren't breastfeeding, if you could help yourself. And I think there's shame there too. So it's just a really tricky thing, isn't it?
Yes, in my experience, we ended up having to supplement Hadley at about 12 weeks, I believe. And that was a really hard thing to be told, is that I wasn't able to feed my child to the full, to her full needs. And she was starting to drop on the growth curve. I remember crying in the doctor's office about that, feeling like I had failed. And I think that's such a sad thing that we put that expectation on ourselves as well. We just need to support our child in whatever way that looks like, and that's okay. And there's some pros to also supplementing in the fact that maybe daddy can take one of those feedings at night, or your mom, or somebody that's there to support you so that you can get sleep.
Right.
So it's okay to give yourself the grace and the freedom to do whatever needs to be done, not only for your child, but for yourself as well.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. I absolutely went through the same thing. I wonder if this is another thing that is really common, that, moms end up having to supplement, or they have those lulls where they're just not making enough. For me, I didn't even see that my son wasn't thriving. It took someone else, my mother-in-law, looking at him at, I think, a month or two old, thinking, he's still like 8 pounds. What's going on here? And so we supplemented, and I had to pump for a few months. And I think because I was able to accept that, this just needed to be done for his well-being, it helped me with my future children to be more flexible about that. And I loved the benefit as well of being able to have someone else feed my child. So I would purposely, at least once a week, once my kids were about a month old, offer a bottle. And it was great because it was at church. I was able to sit with everybody else, pop that bottle in, or someone else would do it, and it was fun for them. Which are like, yeah, please. I do this plenty often, please. So I guess the only other thing I'm really wanting to talk about is if you could go back and if you could help yourself in those early weeks or months. Let's talk about that a little bit. What do you wish you knew in the beginning, first of all?
That no baby's the same. And just because somebody had a child and they tell you how it's going to be in those first few months, that may not be true because it's not your child. But also, I think we forget how challenging those first few months can be, because we become so in love with our child and we don't want to admit that they're challenging. We don't want to admit that we struggled. So I think sometimes the information that you're given isn't because people are lying to you. It's just because, one, they don't remember because they're not sleeping. Or two, I mean, it's not something that's easy for us to admit. So just go into it with no expectations, to be honest, and just to do whatever you need to do in order to support you and your child and your family.
Yeah,
It's different for everybody.
that's so good. Well, that leads right into my next question. And what would you do differently?
I would have enjoyed the cuddles. My daughter is so on the move that we don't get cuddles very often.
Yeah.
She also goes to sleep very well in her crib now, so we don't rock to sleep, or she doesn't sleep with me. And sometimes I'm like, gosh, I just wish I could hold that little newborn again, because it does go by so fast. I would also advocate or listen to other moms that maybe did struggle with postpartum and not think, oh, well, that won't be me. And I would have reached out for help sooner. There's a lot of things that you think you would have done, but at that time, I don't know if I could have been capable of recognizing what I was experiencing.
Right.
I would love to give myself more grace in the fact that I'm doing the best that I can as a new mom,
Right.
and just recognize that if she's healthy and happy and I'm advocating for my child, then I'm doing the absolute best that I can.
I love it. And I'm sure that that is something you remember now often, right?
Yeah.
And I actually think it's pretty amazing that you accept that already. Here you are thinking, I wish I knew that sooner. But I mean, that took me a really long time to recognize I was doing the best I could. I mean, I think I lived with that regret, guilt thing every night when I went to bed for years as a mom. And that partly came from having 5 kids in 8 years. I mean, it was like just busy, busy, busy. Not much slowing down, but so is there anything else we haven't talked about that you learned from your situation that you would like to share?
Just that we need to support each other as moms and not be comparing ourselves to each other. There's no there's no finish line. There's no first place prize in this thing of motherhood. It is a community of moms, and we have such a large community of
Mhm.
women that have gone through this. I think we need to look at each other and say, you're part of my tribe. You're part of this community that only women can really be in the fact of gone through the pregnancy and the birth, and the hormones and all the things that come with growing a child inside of you, but also moms that maybe didn't get to do that. It doesn't mean that this journey for them isn't challenging either. So instead of comparing ourselves to each other and saying, well, am I doing it as good as them, or are they doing it as good as me? We all just look at each other and say, we're doing the best that we can. What can I do to help you?
Yeah, that's wonderful. And also, don't worry about your children being alike. You've said that, but I just mean if we could remind ourselves that they're going to be at a different pace of development, there's going to be disabilities. There's going to be things that aren't perfect, and maybe they're going to be fairly perfect, but they're just not going to be the same. And that's not a competition either, right?
Yep.
I think that's the one thing if I could change something for moms is just kind of release them from that worry of why is everyone else's child sleeping better? Mine isn't. Well, number one, it's not true. Just the moms aren't telling you or being open enough about their sleep struggles, right? But everyone struggles in different ways at different times. And I think the most important thing is being there to support each other. When you were talking about your feelings about being a mom and the community, I was just thinking, what's our goal? Like, if we could just slow down and realize our goal is to raise healthy, thriving children who can, thrive in society and in their lives. I mean, it's really all about just loving them and shaping their lives, right? And
Right.
so that releases a lot of the other pressure and distraction, if you can remember that. So, what advice do you have for moms who can relate to your story who are in it now? They're starting to realize maybe they've got some postpartum depression or anxiety.
Reach out for help. There are lots of resources available to you that are not just medication related. I know some moms are very concerned about taking medication, and I completely respect that. And so if that is the the concern that you have, also know that there are support groups, there are therapists that can help you, there's lactation support personnel that can help you if that's what's causing your struggles. There's so many resources out there for moms, and I know Meredith can probably speak a little bit more on that, as she is probably more in tune on what those resources look like.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. And I know that there's many things that you can do naturally to help yourself feel better. And the number one cause of postpartum mental health disorders is sleep deprivation. But the number one solution is getting more sleep. And so a lot of times the doctors will just help you make a plan for how to do that. So obviously I'm here, and I really want to help moms get their sleep back and get their mental health aligned because of it. I'm going to talk about that before we finish out today, the different resources. So thanks for bringing that up. So one last point, and this is just kind of fun. Earlier this year, you started working for me as an assistant, and I think that's such a compliment. Can you just speak about that a little bit? Like, why would you want to work with me? Why would you want to support what I do?
So Meredith really helped change a lot of things for us as a family. Again, I think there's lots of sleep trainers or sleep consultants that can help, but Meredith's program really did provide a no crying option for us that I felt really fit our family. And she really helped us redefine who we were going to be as a mom and dad, but also gave us confidence in knowing that what we were doing for our daughter was the right thing. So with that being said, I think she provides such a unique perspective, and that I wanted to be a part of that. I wanted other moms to know that they don't have to do this alone, that there is support. And I believe in what Meredith does so much that I wanted to be just involved in some way. And it was a really great blessing to be able to help provide some, just whatever assistance I could, so that Meredith could really support her clients and work with them one-on-one.
Thank you. So if you're in my Successful Sleep group, or you look at my website, you'll see that Jenny writes my informational posts. And so she's very knowledgeable, and I'm so grateful that she shares that knowledge with us. Thank you.
Yep, I'm a glutton for information.
That's awesome. It's great. So I just want to reiterate that it's so much better to tackle motherhood with someone at your side, whether that is a dear friend who has 4 kids. I had the same thing. Or a grandparent that's, in it and supportive and helpful, or having a sleep coach or a doula or a therapist. It's so much better having support. So I just want to offer that to moms. I'm here to help you if you need it. Sometimes my clients come to me for help with caring for their children. And when they're 2 or 3 years old, they come to me for help in behavior areas or bedtime struggles. So I really love my work. It's fun. It's meaningful, and it's very rewarding. So, Jenny, is there anything else you'd like to say before I give some information about resources?
I don't think so, but I really appreciate you having me on today.
Thank you. Thanks for being open and inspiring. And I'm excited to be able to be part of the awareness, helping moms realize that this is normal, that there's ways to feel better, and appreciate you sharing your story.
My pleasure.
So I just want to share that postpartum mental health disorders are so common. 1 in 7 women have postpartum depression. The numbers kind of change from time to time. They say 1 in 6, 1 in 10 with postpartum anxiety. The numbers for men are very similar. So that's a really big eye opener for women. They don't realize, well, for men and women alike, they don't realize that it's common for dads too. That's not quite understood yet why, but they're going through huge life changes, and there's a lot of stress and pressure on them. And it's hard to watch your wife struggle. It's hard to get used to everything. My husband used to have, so funny, but I guess he would get some of the same symptoms as me when I was pregnant or had a baby. So I think that might be part of it too. I think that maybe they even have hormonal changes. But just be aware. There's an awesome resource out there that I love, and it is postpartum.net. And they have, I want to say, 40 or 50 different countries listed on their website with resources. And they have a 24-hour hotline. They have a list of trained therapists to help you. And that does matter, because if you go to someone who doesn't have training or understand how to help you, they may be trying to solve things from, say, your childhood or some trauma or something that you've been through, but what you really need from a therapist when you're going through postpartum depression or anxiety is just to be heard. So that's really the focus. So if you're afraid of that, I just want you to know it's really just a great resource for you to be able to open up about what you're going through. And I think that would have been really nice for Jenny, but luckily she had me and she found a way to feel better. So, and you don't have any regrets about, what you did, right? It was a good fit for you.
Right.
Right.
Absolutely not. It was a great fit.
So just remember, moms, it's hard enough to be a new mom or a mom of more than one child when you are feeling well. Most new moms are sleep deprived, but you throw in some of these hormonal imbalances and it's really, really challenging. And my heart goes out to you. Jenny obviously relates to you too. So please do what you can to get the support and help that you need. Thank you for being with us today. Thank you, Jenny.
Thank you.
Loved having you here. To my listeners, please watch for a podcast again in 2 more weeks. And I hope you have a great day. Thank you for listening to the Sweet Slumber Podcast, the good, the bad, and the sleep deprived. If you enjoyed the show today, please take a moment to write a review, leave a rating, and subscribe so you won't miss future episodes. This will also help more mothers find my show. Thanks for listening.